Hi. So it's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community. Thank you, Sally, for telling me I'm on mute because I thought I hit mute. I'm apologizing that I look sort of a little bit of a wreck tonight. However, I didn't want to miss this meeting with everyone to see if you have any questions and to talk again about things that have come up in the news that have happened with pets. So it's just been amazing. It's been such a busy week. But I wanted to let you know I'm in Maryland. I'm getting ready for the Irish Setter Club of America National, which starts in June. I'm here with my colleague, Carolyn McAteer, and we are outlining what's going to happen with 300 Irish setters at a national. So you might all be wondering, what do you do with 300 Irish setters at a national? You make sure everyone is safe. You make sure everyone has notes on their crates that say, this is my dog, and if something happens, call me if the dogs are outside. We also give them notes to put in their room and on their doors so that things can be done in a way that allows everyone to know there's a dog in the room, to know who to call if the dog is barking in the room. It's very important to make sure everyone feels safe and wonderful. So without further ado, let me know how everyone's doing. I'm going to start with you today, Susan. Are you there?
I am. I don't know if I'm muted. I guess my
No, you're
video
not
is
muted,
off.
but your video's off. But I understand because my video probably should be off today too, but alas, it is not.
I am kind of a wreck today myself, so I'm totally on the same page with you. Yeah, I did find the website for Sarah Says
Right.
for the training, and I also have another lady who might be available to do some training, and I'm working on getting a groomer to come to the house to do the grooming for my dog.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so it's amazing because I've called, I've emailed. Apparently they're incredibly busy right now.
Yes, they are.
And so I'm working on those things, and you know.
And what's the question you're going to ask them when you get to know them in a few months? You're going to say, hey, if something happens, can I count on you to be my first line of defense? And most of the time they will say, absolutely, just let us know who the next person is, and you can work on that.
Right, and that's pretty much the goal. So to start that relationship. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. You're going gangbusters. A groomer, a trainer. That's fabulous, because you were like really worried, and now you've at least started the ball rolling. I'm so grateful that we've helped you do this. And remember, every time you put something in, write it down. And I know you probably don't yet have your sticky note on your refrigerator or on your door, but you got to have that.
Yeah, I know. I do.
I have X-ray vision. It's like your mother with the eyes in the back of her head. You know, she just knows. You hate that she knows, but she just knows. So that's really important, Susan.
No, I agree. Yeah. No, I fully.
Well, I'm just so proud of you. You've got a groomer, and you've got in contact with trainers, and you're moving forward, which it's all we can do. We just, keep moving forward. So that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm going to check in with Connie. How's everything out in sunny California, Connie?
Well, it's mostly cloudy, and we're supposed to have rain the next 2 days, but the sun is out. I'm happy to report, and it's 58 degrees, which is freezing for us. And I'm here in my dog grooming clothes. I've just brushed out my 11-year-old girl, and as soon as this call is over with, we're going back on the grooming table for a haircut.
Oh, she likes me. I'm her best friend right now.
Absolutely. She's your BFF, or you're her BFF right now.
That's right. Because I got her off the table. All my dogs like when the phone rings. They think it's like whoever that is, the check is in the mail.
Right. I'm good with that. So anyway, we're all fine. How are you all doing did I see snow in
well, it's interesting. I'm in Maryland. So I'm in Maryland at the Irish Setter Club of America's National Show site in June, getting things together with my BFF, Carolyn McAteer. However, I left New York just before, and Sally will let you know, the tornadoes almost hit with the hail and the rain and the wind. My husband sent me a picture of my older girl, Roxy, under his desk, as she is not afraid of thunder and lightning, except this must have been really bad. And Sally told me that she also had thunder and lightning. And it was pretty bad. So Sally, how are you guys managing?
Well, it's now clear and freezing cold. We're supposed to have possibly snow or definitely frost this evening. And it was very strange. We went out for a walk and all of a sudden the sky went black and the trees were going right and left. And then it sounded like a freight train coming.
That's a tornado.
Yeah, and I just turned around and of course Athena wanted to keep walking and then she looked at me and goes, I get this. And yeah, we both ran home and she was just as good as gold. She's so smart. She ran right into the bathroom, the darkest interior bathroom, and hid behind the toilet.
Yeah, well, she's a smart dog. I mean, I don't breed any dumb dogs. She's a smart dog. It's just so interesting because here I am in Maryland. The sun is shining. I hit a few light patches of rain. I didn't even use my windshield wipers on the drive down, and now we're here. And it's just beautiful. So let me check in. Hey, Kieran, we haven't yet connected for doing the follow-up on our wonderful responsible dog ownership book. What's up? Because I haven't gotten your email. And if I missed your email, I apologize, but I don't think I did. I've read your book. I love it. And I love the illustrations.
The good news is it's completely finished. Now, it was held up by a few child psychologists deciding what should go in and what shouldn't. So they say never work with children and animals, and I finally understand why.
Yeah, you did both.
You did both.
Never again. But that said, it's going through the proofreading tonight, the final proofreading, the graphic design over the next few days, but it will be with you probably Monday or Tuesday.
Great. And I'm going to look for it because I keep saying I'm shutting down my office and people keep calling. Yeah. I should probably say I want more clients and then no one will call because every time I say I'm shutting down my office, people call. And I do want to touch tonight, if everybody doesn't mind, on that pesky co-ownership question. I, of course, don't sell my dogs not on co-ownership. I think, Connie, you feel the same way. You sell your puppies on co-ownership. Maybe you don't.
Some of them, yes, some of them, no.
I was with a judge when someone gave one of my dogs away, and he held the AKC papers up and he said, this is the indicia of ownership. If your name isn't on this, you don't own it. So even though in my contract it said that I am first right of refusal for this dog, my name wasn't on those AKC papers. And what he did was he put us all in the same spot we would have been in had she asked me if I wanted the dog before she gave it away. And of course I took the dog, which of course was an incredible gnashing of teeth for the people who had the dog because they thought I was the worst person in the world. And the moral of that story is 4 days later, that was a Tuesday, 4 days later on a Friday, I called and said, would you like to come up for coffee? And we can work this out. And they did. And I gave them the dog and the dog lived with them happily ever after. And they realized that I was actually not the person that she had depicted me to be, but rather I just wanted to know where my dog was going and wanted to be able to talk to them. And they and I have been dear friends for many years now. And it was the first purebred Irish setter they ever had. So when you're with your co-owners and you're writing your MAAP plan, you can put in that Connie's going to get the dog, even though she doesn't co-own it. But the co-owner can come and take the dog from Connie. And cause Connie a lot of issue with respect to title and everything else. We talked about the woman who got sick and they gave her dogs away because she didn't have any written plan. Well, if you write the plan without speaking to your co-owner, things can go awry. And I can tell you, I have 3 cases in my office now where people had texts that said, well, this is what I want to do. Okay, fine, that's great. But their contract that they signed said that any modification to this contract has to be done in writing, signed by all the parties. And a text doesn't meet that threshold. So when we do our workshops, which we're not going to do it in April because it's been crazy, when we do our workshops, probably closer to September, I will again reiterate that if you co-own a dog with someone, you really need to make sure you tell them, listen, I know I co-own the dog with you, and I know you did that because you want to make sure these dogs are safe. I also want you to know that Sally Anderson Bruce is the person who knows the dog, who loves the dog. She's willing to co-own the dog with you if something happens to me, or own the dog outright, or keep you in the loop for the dog. But she would be that first person. And most breeders, if you give them a heads up, they're going to work with you. It's when you don't give them a heads up and they find out later, and if it's in violation of a contract you signed with them, your person who's supposed to take your dog might not be able to take your dog. So this is really a key piece of information that you have to talk about. And you have to, when they may say, well, I want the dog to come to me, and then I will let the dog go to Sally. And believe me, I will tell you, that's how it works in my contracts. Absolutely. I think if you have someone like Sally who's going to take your dog, fabulous. Have Sally come to me. We'll sit down. I'll meet her. She'll meet me. She'll know that I'm there for her if she needs me. We'll sign a contract that says if anything happens to her, the dog comes back to me and we're good to go. But you really do have to be transparent. Every case that's walking through my office where co-owners are having issues is because one person doesn't talk to the other person. Now, of course, that's precipitated by the fact that the other person's an idiot. We hate them and, they're this, they're that. Yes, but you have a co-ownership arrangement with them, and you really need to, as a breeder, mentor them. And as a puppy owner, ask curious questions. Please don't get mad. I know it's really hard, and things happen. And most people, I will venture to say, never read the contract they sign to get their dog. And they really do. I said to the people who are coming to my office now, let me ask you a favor. And they said, what? I said, next time you buy a dog, will you send the contract to me before you sign it? And let's talk about what you're agreeing to so you understand. Oh yeah. And two of them have. They've bought another dog. They're co-owning it. But the interesting thing is, I pointed out things in the contract and I said, you understand what this means? No. I said, well, this is what this means. Oh, I said, so do you want to talk to the breeder about this? Oh, no, she'll never enforce that. And I said, well, I need to tell you, she might not, but she can. And so you're putting yourself in a position where that could happen. So when you're writing your MAAP plan, you're making a plan for your pet. It's your plan. It's what you want. You're addressing the needs of your pets. So you know exactly what your pets are supposed to do to be taken care of. You're appointing caregivers. If you co-own a dog, that first caregiver has to be the co-owner. I know that some of you are saying, never, no way, not on this planet or any other. Well, then contact me and I'll help you with the language you need to use to help your co-owner understand that you're going to work with them, but that Sally is like the best person for this dog. And you really need to make sure that things are going to work out between the two of you. So now that I've scared everybody who co-owns a dog, I know, Susan, I believe you co-own your Catan. And of course, for Connie, she's the person who would get that call from her co-owners saying, I've got the neighbor who loves my Wheaten Terrier. So tell me, Connie, what would you say as a breeder if someone called you saying, listen, I know I signed this contract, and and you co-own this dog with me, and I'm making my MAAP plan. Hopefully someone will call me and say that. And I'd like to know how we might work that out. What would you think would be an appropriate response from a breeder?
Well, an appropriate response would be, to put that person in touch with you or someone like you, who could advise them, because I am sure, like your contracts with either your pet people or certainly your show prospect people, I always have the provision that if for any reason you cannot keep this dog, I don't care what it is, of course the language is more elegant than that, you contact me immediately and I will take the dog back and make sure that it is properly placed.
Right.
So that is in every single contract for every single puppy that I have ever had walk out of this house. So at any rate, I would certainly want to, work out something.
Yeah, because if the dog has grown up with the kids, so the kids are older and able to
Right.
take the dog, or the neighbor loves the dog and is the person who comes to take care of the dog every time
Right.
they go away,
Right.
those are people who you want to meet and know, and then you probably would not have an issue turning the dog
Right.
over, as long as, and I will tell you this, most breeders will want to co-own with the neighbor as well. And if the neighbor isn't really up for that, that may be a breaking point, but you really need to discuss with them, the new owners that you'd like to work with the breeder, that this is someone who, if something happens to you, will take the dog. So it's not like you'll be stuck with the dog if something happens with you. No, this is a never-ending responsibility.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And for instance, in my case with my 2-year-old Casey, my best friend, who is number 1 on my MAP plan, is the co-owner of him. So, I'm set with him in my own situation.
So what you need to do in that situation, I'm so glad you said that. So what you need to do in that situation is say, Mary Jane, if you can't take the dog because you moved to a place and you can only have 2 dogs, or, something's happened to you, can't take the dog, what do we do with the second place owner? Do you want to, she obviously knows, because you've made the MAP plan, she obviously knows who the second and third place person are.
Right.
And they know that she co-owns the dog with you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that next step? If you're just short term, that's not a problem, because it's not a problem. But if you are long term unable to take care of the dogs, then, and she's not able to take care of them, then everyone has to work together to make sure that these pets are transferred safely to someone with the all powering co-owner. And you're the breeder, I think, correct, of Casey?
Correct.
So she's the co-owner. And so she doesn't necessarily have the contract saying that she would take him if something happened to you. Is she a co-breeder or a co-owner? I know this is very confusing for the pet people.
Exactly.
I apologize, but this is really important for those of you who are listening who are, co-owning a dog with someone. So she's not a breeder. She's just a co-owner.
No, she actually is. In fact, she's an AKC breeder of merit for 35 years in both Wheatons and Sealy's.
Yeah.
And she is the owner of Casey's dad. So I had tried to put her on as the co-breeder, but AKC this wasn't during COVID, actually, this was the year before, but AKC anyway screwed up the paperwork.
Right.
So she is not the co-breeder, but she really is. And so I have a stud dog contract with her.
Yeah. So she co-owns with you. And so the contract is probably mutual for the two of you. If something happens to you, she gets it. If something happens to her, you get, I guess, the dog she might have kept unless she didn't keep one.
Right.
Yes.
In fact, she is directing all her dogs to me.
Right. And you're directing all your dogs to her. And
Right.
so both of you, remember, are supposed to have backups. So those backups have to know that they have to work through Connie, or they have to work through
Bonnie.
Bonnie, because you want to make sure everybody knows. It isn't as complicated as it sounds. I promise you. The one thing that is so important is that transparency, to talk about it with the co-owner, because if the co-owner finds out that you've given the dog to Sally, that's when feathers fly, because wait a minute, I have the first right of refusal for that dog, and she gave that dog away and she didn't ask me. She probably didn't even want the dog, and she would have approved Sally had she known before the push came to shove. So that's why it's really important. And Susan, I think you said you co-owned your Catan as well. Is that right?
Well, with the breeder, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, and of course I would share the MAP plan with her.
But you would have to also, so you would share that, she's the first person because she co-owns the dog, but then give her the option of Sally or Connie, just using names, as the people who know Maggie, right?
Yes, Maggie.
So who know Maggie and would be a great fit for Maggie. And she probably will be thrilled that you, A, made a MAP plan, B, let her know who the people are that could help her in the event you needed help with Maggie. Because what happens is people just need a relationship before it happens. If the dogs go somewhere and, the co-owners get the information after the fact, that's when the fur flies, so to speak. It really makes people feel as if I signed a contract, and then they go to attorneys, and then the attorneys say, yes, we can sue them and we can get money and we can do this. And then you're down that whole path.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to stop you from going down that path by telling your co-owners and your co-breeders that this is what's going to happen. So it's really something that's very important to make sure you address. I know that that's something most people who own their pets own them outright. They've rescued them outright. The book that Colin's putting together is teaching people how to take a responsibility test before you get a pet. And it's going to be fabulous. I can't wait to put it out here for all of us. And Kieran, you and I'll have another individual night where we talk, because that's gone out through the roof with people watching it. They love it. So once it's up and running, we're going to do that. We're going to do a Why Do Pets Matter as well, to make sure everybody knows that this responsible pet ownership quiz booklet is going to come out for children, because the children are the ones who want it, and they're the ones who don't do most of the work, as every mother everywhere will raise her hand and say. I always said to my kids, they were very lucky their mother wanted dogs, because otherwise I would never have put up with as many dogs as we had, sometimes 24. So we were crazy, but it was okay. So let me ask everybody, is there any question with your plan that you're having now? I know I've raised a few questions about co-ownership, Connie, which probably has you putting your little thinking cap on. I'd love to chat with the Wheaton people about that as well, because it is something that really most co-owners don't, sorry, my phone rang. Most co-owners don't know that they're supposed to do. So it really is important to make sure we have it put together in a way that doesn't piss off your co-owner, but gives the dog to the people who you would prefer to get it. I mean, it might be your co-owner.
No, I would love to have you do that. And as you know, from working with our board, we have started putting together a series of health webinars. In fact, we had our third last evening, which are later posted on our website for people, to watch live streaming at their convenience. So I will certainly bring it up to the board at our May meeting that, we really need to do something like this as an educational.
Perfect. I would love that. And I'm also going to bring up to my board the fact that you guys have started these wonderful 1-hour health town hall meetings that have been really great. So I'm going to bring that up to my Irish Setter Club America board too, because maybe we'll start doing something like that.
Right.
Thank you. Kieran, you had a question, honey.
Just a couple of questions, Debbie. You mentioned AKC papers at the beginning. What does that stand for?
So it's the American Kennel Club. So every purebred dog who has American Kennel Club registration gets a set of papers that has his mother's name, his father's name, her mother's name, her father's name, and their name, and the breeder as well as the owner. And so the breeder can sign off, and Sally could own the dog outright, or the breeder could be a co-owner, or 2 or 3 people could own the dog. So it just is the indicia, in my opinion, it's the indicia of ownership. So when those papers are filed with the American Kennel Club, that dog is registered to Deborah Hamilton, Sally Anderson, and Connie Kohler. And all 3 of them have the right to discuss the future of that dog. So if they're going to breed it, all 3 of them have to sign it. If it's a female dog, only one really has to sign it, but the other 2 could hold it up if they write and say, no, we didn't want the male dog to be bred to this person. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with co-ownership. Some people believe in them and some people don't. So it's always a matter of transparency and communication for them to work, right, Connie? And
Absolutely.
It's a matter of not transparency and no conversation when they fall apart and go down the tubes.
And Kieran, one thing, excuse me, before you continue, on the subject of AKC and responsible dog ownership, AKC has a formal program, as I'm sure you know, called Responsible Dog Ownership. And in fact, every September, they consider that to be their RDO month. And they encourage kennel clubs, obedience clubs. I'm on the board of both of those here in Southern California. We all, in fact, my all breed kennel club with my obedience club put on a joint RDO day because we're geographically proximate. So you might consider contacting them about your new book because they're always looking for materials to give to kids right now.
Yeah.
So I'll connect you with that, Kieran, when it's ready.
That'd be brilliant. Thanks.
And the museum bookstore, my friend Carolyn McAteer, who happens to be on the AKC board
There
of
you
directors,
go.
just said. There you go. So next
Okay.
question, Kieran, what's up, babe?
Right. The role of the dog license. Now, I just know of one particular case in Ireland a few years ago where one member of the family was down as the registered owner through the microchip, but a different family member was down as having paid for the dog license.
Oh, this is my life. When people's relationships break up, this is my life. One person's on the microchip, the other one's at the vet, the other one's registered, at the town hall with the license. Yeah.
Mm.
It doesn't, a licensing is the person who's paying it and is saying this dog is in their care and control. I think the AKC papers would trump that. But really the town only wants you to have a license and to have someone responsible for the dog. I don't know that it would necessarily hold up in court as indicia of ownership above and beyond the AKC papers. Or even the adoption papers. So if it said I adopted the dog, but my significant other registered the dog with the town, that's just two levels of responsibility for the dogs and ownership of the dogs. So they're competing, and whether or not one would take precedent over the other is always a question. Hopefully, again, you decide not to go the court route where they have to decide.
Lovely.
So, well, it's 7:00, guys, and I now have to go take Mr. Mouse Meat out to, I showed you a quick picture. Come here, Zachy. I'll show you a quick picture of our guy, Zachy. Come here, Zachy boy. Come here, Zachy. Say hi to everyone, Zach.
Oh,
Zach's-
what a pretty
Oh,
boy.
wow.
Yeah, look at Zachy. He's like such a good boy. I know the alarm's going. Sorry, Zach. But I love you all. I'm so glad I took this time out to meet with you because you guys make my Wednesdays. Hey, I had my second COVID shot on Monday. No side effects.
Yay,
None.
I did. So you're lucky.
I am very lucky. My mother's up in heaven and she wouldn't let it happen. So until next Wednesday, guys, I'm looking forward to seeing yours on Monday, Kieran. And until next week, you guys take care, be safe, wear a mask, and give your babies kisses for me.
Okay.
That's
We
great
will.
Where in
stuff.
Maryland, Deborah?
I'm in Frederick,
Oh,
right near, well, it's about
Right
20
near
miles
the city.
outside of Townsend, or maybe 30. So
well,
it's on the
you're not
west.
that far from where I am then, right? I'm in Virginia, but
Yeah.
it's not that far.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, guys. I love you all, and I will see you next Wednesday.
Great stuff.
Sounds
Bye.
good, Deborah.